All right, let's jump right in. Today we're talking about one of the most important partnerships in all of tech, the relationship between cloud computing and big data. They're basically two sides of the same coin. We're going to break it all down using Chapter 6 of Big Data for Dummies as our guide. Welcome from Nexus, especially to all you computer science students tuning in. Look, getting a handle on this topic isn't just, a good idea. It's absolutely critical. What we're talking about today is going to be a foundation for pretty much everything you do in your career. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down what the cloud actually means. Then we'll get into the different ways it's set up and delivered. After that, we'll see why big data needs the cloud to even exist. And finally, we'll check out the big companies that are making it all happen. Okay, first up, defining the cloud. And let's get one thing straight right away. We are talking about way more than just a place to back up your photos. The cloud is a living, breathing service platform. So here's the official definition, but the part you really want to focus on is delivered to you as a service. Think about it like the electricity in your house. You don't build a power plant in your backyard, right? You just plug into the wall and get the power you need. The cloud is exactly that, but for computing power, and you can get it on demand without ever having to call the IT department. And this is where the magic happens. These aren't just features, they're the core principles of the cloud. You get what you need when you need it. You can scale up or scale down in real time. That term, elastic scalability, you're gonna wanna remember that one. And this whole idea of expanding horizontally is the exact reason it's the perfect home for big data. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper, because not all clouds are the same. Understanding the different models is gonna be super important for you when you're out there making decisions as a developer. You gotta know which tool is right for the job. So when it comes to deploying a cloud, you've basically got two main flavors. First, there's the public cloud. Think of the big names like AWS or Google. You're sharing their massive infrastructure with tons of other people, and you just pay for your little slice of the pie. Then you have the private cloud, which is like building your own dedicated data center just for your organization. You get more control, but the public cloud gives you that incredible scale and pay-as-you-go flexibility. Now, how are these cloud services delivered? Well, this analogy explains it perfectly. On one end, you have IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. This is like renting a plot of land and a bunch of tools. The provider gives you the raw materials, the servers, the storage, and you build whatever you want. It's maximum control. On the other end of the spectrum is SaaS, Software as a Service. This is like renting a fully furnished apartment. You don't worry about the plumbing or the electricity, you just show up and start living in it. You log in, use the app, and that's it. And that brings us to the real heart of the matter. This is the big so what? Why is the cloud not just a nice bonus for big data, but an absolute necessity? Let's connect the dots. So yeah, let's just ask the question straight up. Why is the cloud the perfect partner for big data? Well, it all boils down to two key concepts, and we've actually already mentioned them. First up is scalability. This is all about the ability to handle growth. And with big data, we mean explosive growth. The trick here is that you're not trying to build one single giant supercomputer. No way, that's impossible. Instead, the cloud uses a divide and conquer approach. It takes a massive data set and splits it up or partitions it across thousands of smaller, cheaper servers that all work together. It is literally the only way to process data at that scale. The second concept is elasticity, and this is so important. It's not just about being big, it's about being flexible. Big data workloads can be super spiky and unpredictable. Imagine a post goes viral and suddenly you have a tsunami of data coming in. Elasticity means you can spin up thousands of new servers in minutes to handle the load, and then, this is the key, you can shut them down and stop paying for them the moment the spike is over. It's a total game changer for costs. Okay, so we've covered the theory, the what, and the why. Now let's get to the who. Let's look at how the biggest names in tech are building out real-world services specifically to tackle big data challenges. And you have to start with Amazon Web Services, or AWS. They were the pioneers, and it's a fascinating story, really. Amazon built this incredible global infrastructure to run its own online store, and then had this light bulb moment where they realized, hey, we could rent this out. Their main service, EC2, basically lets you rent virtual computers. It gives you access to what feels like a limitless supply of computing power. Then, of course, you have Google. I mean, their entire company is built on handling the biggest data set of all, the internet. So it's no surprise they have amazing tools. Take Google BigQuery.
It lets you run searches on tables with billions of rows and get an answer back in seconds. It's mind-blowing. Or the prediction API, which is like having a machine learning expert in a box, finding patterns in your data automatically. Microsoft's approach with Azure is really smart, especially for big businesses. Their big data service, HD Insight, is built to be 100% compatible with Apache Hadoop, which is the big open source standard for this stuff. So for companies that are already using Hadoop, it's a super easy transition to the cloud. Plus, they integrate it with tools everyone knows, like Microsoft Excel. It just makes it more accessible. And we can't leave out the open source option, OpenStack. This project, which was actually started by Rackspace and NASA, has a really ambitious goal: to create a standard cloud platform that isn't controlled by any one company. The whole idea is to let you build a cloud on whatever hardware you want, so you don't get locked into a single vendor's ecosystem. And, just like the others, they're bringing Hadoop services to their platform too. So, after all that, we've seen how the cloud is what makes big data possible today. But this leads to a huge final question. We are creating data faster than ever before. The pace is just accelerating. So is the cloud architecture we have now going to be enough for the challenges we'll face tomorrow? Or is another massive shift just around the corner? That's the kind of question that you all are going to have to solve. And that's a wrap on the powerful duo of cloud and big data. In our next explainer, we're moving on to Chapter 7 to take a deep dive into operational databases. Hope to see you there.